The 15 greatest figures in Muslim history, leaders who changed the world. In the shadows of history, there are names that never die. Men who carved glory with their blood and built an everlasting civilization with sweat and sacrifice. They weren't just leaders, they were beacons of hope in times of darkness, guardians of a mighty faith that spread from the heart of Arabia to the ends of the earth. Who were these giants? And what made them unforgettable? Prepare for a thrilling journey through centuries of heroism and triumph, where glory meets faith. The history of the Islamic nation is filled with shining pages written with the blood of warriors and the ink of scholars. From Badr to Qadisiyah, from Yarmouk to Constantinople, history tells of men undefeated by armies and untempted by worldly gains. They followed the path of the Prophet, raised the banner of Islam high, and laid the foundations of a civilization whose legacy endures through time. Men of a rare kind. These leaders were no ordinary men, they were forged from a rare metal, steadfast in battle, wise in leadership, and humble in victory. Raised in homes of faith by mothers who instilled in them the love of God and the call to jihad, they defied mighty kingdoms. Despite limited numbers and weapons, they conquered lands and hearts alike, spreading Islam through justice, not the sword, and with knowledge, not ignorance. The genius of building and planning. Conquest was never the sole goal, it marked the beginning of building great nations. These leaders planned for the future as they planned for war, founding cities, organizing governance, regulating trade and agriculture, and prioritizing education and justice. They laid the foundation for righteous rule, governing with a system that combined Sharia and wisdom. Their brilliance in planning surpassed even their prowess in battle, turning victories into the birth of civilizations. A legacy that endures. In every era of the Muslim world, there emerged men who filled pages of history and surpassed the power of words. They built the glory of Islam with effort, determination, and deep faith. They were not myths, but human like you and me, yet they were sincere with God, and He honored them. They left a legacy of justice, knowledge, and courage that awakens hearts and inspires ambition. Let's explore their stories and see how they reshaped history by divine will. Al-Siddiq, the best to follow the Prophet. Abu Bakr al-Siddiq, the first of the rightly guided Caliphs, was the closest to the Prophet in life and spirit. He combined deep faith with political wisdom, becoming the first to confront the nation's crises after the Prophet's death. Without hesitation, he firmly led the Ummah, dispatched armies, and secured Islam across Arabia. Firm in truth yet gentle-hearted, he stood strong in times of hardship, earning his place as the finest to follow the Prophet's path. Al-Faruq, justice walking on earth. Umar ibn al-Khattab was known as Al-Faruq for distinguishing truth from falsehood. Under his rule, the Islamic State reached its peak expansion, yet he remained humble, sleeping on the ground and ruling with justice. He feared no one but God and stayed awake to care for his people, prompting the saying, "You ruled justly, so you felt safe and slept." His justice was not a slogan but a living practice that made his era a timeless model. Uthman, modesty and spending in God's cause. Uthman ibn Affan, known for his modesty and generosity, equipped the army of hardship from his own wealth and purchased the Rumah well for the Muslims. He was devout and gentle, and among the first to compile the Quran. During his caliphate, Islam spread further, but internal strife led to his martyrdom while reading the Quran. His name remains tied to giving and faith, a man who sought nothing for himself, but gave his heart, wealth, and soul to the Ummah. Ali, sword of justice and wisdom. Ali ibn Abi Talib, the Prophet's cousin and son-in-law, was distinguished by courage, knowledge, and eloquence. Known for his justice and bravery in battle, he was praised as no youth but Ali. He faced major strife with steadfastness and became a symbol of loyalty and truth. During his short caliphate, he offered lessons in wise governance and elevated the status of scholars. Assassinated at dawn while in prayer, his legacy continues to guide the righteous. Khalid ibn al-Walid, the drawn sword of Allah. Khalid ibn al-Walid, the commander who never lost a battle, embraced Islam after being one of its fiercest opponents. He became a sword unsheathed in God's path, conquering vast lands and defeating powerful armies with unmatched military genius. He sought no fame or position, only victory for Islam. When he was removed from command, he voiced no protest, saying, "I fought not for Umar, but for Allah." A true model of a devoted warrior. Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi, the liberator of Jerusalem. Salah ad-Din was not just a military leader, but a man of faith, ethics, and mercy. He fought the Crusaders and reclaimed Jerusalem after years of occupation, yet showed no vengeance, treating its people with compassion. He united Muslims after their divisions and raised the banner of justice and dignity. In a time of betrayal, he was a shining star, leading with sincere belief. Upon his death, foes wept before friends, and his name endures as a symbol of chivalry and honor. Abdulhamid II, the wronged Sultan. Abdulhamid II, the last of the great Ottoman sultans, stood firmly against Western ambitions and famously refused to sell Palestine despite immense pressure. He built the Hejaz Railway and strengthened education. Though accused of autocracy, he aimed to shield the empire from disintegration. Betrayed by those around him, he was exiled in sorrow. Decades later, historians acknowledged his foresight and wisdom. He remains a symbol of endangered sovereignty and a voice for a homeland that is not for sale. Omar al-Mukhtar, the Libyan Lion of Jihad. Omar al-Mukhtar, known as the Lion of the Desert, led the Libyan resistance against Italian colonialism for over 20 years. Despite his old age, he fought with unmatched bravery across mountains and deserts. Captured and executed, he refused to beg for mercy, declaring, "We do not surrender. We win or die." He became an icon of Arab freedom, proving that even elders can lead the greatest revolutions when driven by faith. Nuh ad-Din Zangi, the leader who paved the way for Salah ad-Din. Before Salah ad-Din, Nuh ad-Din Zangi laid the groundwork for the liberation of the Levant and Palestine. A pious man, he combined strength with justice, ruling Damascus and Aleppo while supporting scholars and building schools. His military strategies paved the way for Jerusalem's liberation. He lived modestly, avoided luxury, and never flaunted power. Loved by his people and feared by enemies, his influence was felt the day Salah ad-Din entered Jerusalem. Abdulkader al-Jazairi, Knight of Resistance and Thought. Abdulkader al-Jazairi was more than a military leader, he was a thinker and Sufi. He bravely resisted French occupation, establishing a state in western Algeria that fought fiercely. After capture, he showed unmatched nobility, refusing revenge and protecting Christians from retaliation. Exiled to Damascus, he was welcomed as a prince. He blended faith with intellect, sword with pen. His legacy remains a beacon for fighters and scholars, bridging Islam and modernity. Yusuf ibn Tashfin, unifier of the Maghreb and savior of Al-Andalus. Yusuf ibn Tashfin, leader of the Almoravids, unified the vast Maghreb under one banner and rescued Al-Andalus from collapse against the Franks. He defeated Alfonso VI at the Battle of Zayaca, shifting Europe's power balance. A devout man, he avoided showiness, wore wool, and lived simply despite ruling vast lands. When the Muslims of Al-Andalus called, he answered without hesitation. A leader of piety and resolve, his name rightfully endures in the annals of history.